Gold is king, always has been, always will be, and people are going to start following it closer, especially now there's a chance of it hitting $3,000 per ounce, and then people will start thinking, I've missed the boat, I can't afford gold ounce at 3,000, 3,500, so they start looking for the alternative, silver, the poor man's gold, and they'll be looking what's the chances of getting in on this, and they'll see silver at $40 or $50 an ounce, and even if the premiums go up to 30%, 40% or 50%, it'll still look like good value compared with gold. So the options for silver are looking very good. People are going to rush to silver, even when it has its quieter moments. People are going to rush to silver, and really what you need to do is you need to research it, have a look at it, and I simply mean go along to a local coin shop or go online and buy your first couple of ounces of silver, even if the premiums seem a bit high at the moment. Maybe we're talking 10, 15, 20%, and they may go up even higher. But get yourself in there, get those first couple of ounces of silver in your hands, and get to feel what it's about, and get to connect with silver, because soon people are going to become more aware of silver, particularly as gold becomes out of reach. Silver's been part of the money supply for thousands of years. It's only recently that silver was taken out of coinage, and that was purely because of its scarcity, that it was limiting the money supply, that it had to be taken out of the use of the coins in America when it was part of what we now today call constitutional metal. Silver in many parts of the world, in many countries, silver is still really the name for money, and silver is synonymous really with the concept of money, and it always has been something that relates to the idea of transactional wealth, and it's something that's just very a modern thing where we don't think of silver relating to money directly. People who invest heavily in silver, they're talking, these are the insiders, they're talking of triple figure silver, they're talking of $333 spot price for silver. That seems very bullish. It is bullish. Now, where are they getting this from? Now, they're getting it from the idea that silver is undervalued, and it's partly being held back by those who hold the commodities market price down, and they can only do that temporarily through suppressing on short buying on the paper silver. But the physical silver is going to break out, and the reason why they're saying that is because it's undervalued, and the reason why they're coming up with figures like $300 spot price is because at the moment the gold to silver ratio is running at 80 to 1, 80 silver to 1 gold. So it's the gold to silver ratio of 1 to 80, whereas previously it's been something like 1 to 15. So if gold is going to break through to 3,000 and maybe even 5,000 in the next year or two, then if that gold to silver ratio gap is going to close, then the idea is that it will drag the price of silver up to near to 3,000. You can use a similar ratio with the housing price, in the same way that the cost of an American home has massively gone up, and silver has not kept pace with that on its ratio. The same thing could be said again, that there's undervaluation on the silver price because of suppression of silver in the commodities market by the large banks that are manipulating the price on the paper value of silver, because they're shorting it all the time to keep the price where they want it for the moment, but they can only suppress that for so long. The idea is that silver at some point is going to close the ratio on its gap, and we're going to see something like a $300 silver ratio. So that's one reason to keep in on silver in the long run, is that somehow it's going to have to break out. I think there's a word of warning whenever we hear these people who talk about silver reaching $300. And I think usually they're related to the people who attend conferences at silver mining events, and they really are paid to do the hype. They are content creators in their own rights as well. Is that they all seem to cover their backs by saying they don't actually believe it themselves. They've been talking to some people, and they certainly don't believe that. They think it's bullish. Take it with a pinch of salt, and that they don't think it would be healthy for the industry if it would be to stay there at that level. But they do see that it's going to happen at some point, that they think it will be a peak price. Maybe it'd be some sort of in-day bidding situation. So I don't think we should be considering as our savings plan that silver is going to reach triple figures at any point in the near future. And the next thing that I hear a lot about is the argument that silver is an industrial product. So first of all, there's a lot of talk about how it's a financial tool. It has been involved in currencies and things like that. And I think we've got to be aware of is that, where even if there's talk about the US dollar being removed as being the global currency, of which it's not going to be, and I don't say that as a fan of one global currency or the dominance of the US hegemony around the world. I just don't see it happening. And to some extent, for global stability, there is an advantage of having a go-to currency of exchange. No, I don't think it is. Gold isn't going to suddenly become the world currency because of the very reason why we went to fiat currencies, and that's because it's of its limitation. We need liquidity in the means of exchange, and we need to be able to add liquidity to the economy, and we need a greater liquidity than any precious metal can offer. But that's another discussion for another time. The thing that we've got to now is the fact that silver is not the means of exchange. It's not a currency. It is a commodity. It's a commodity that is speculated on, and that when we as silver stackers, we get our spot price from the American Commodities Exchange, and China does not buy its silver from the American Commodities Exchange. It buys its silver by owning silver mining facilities around the world, and silver is not mined directly. It's a byproduct of copper, zinc and iron and of other products. Silver is such a small amount of the mining process. So China doesn't. The more China needs of silver for industry, it doesn't put a pressure. It doesn't buy it on any American exchanges. It buys it by owning silver, mining opportunities. That's to say, when the price that we pay for silver in coinage from our coin shops, we do it from spot price. That's the commodities market in New York, and the majority of the silver that's traded there is paper silver, and that's where all the conspiracy theories about the banks who can trade more than they own, and do they in some of their trading claims that they do say that your certificate entitles you to your piece of silver, but most of the trading opportunities are fictional. And in the same way that banks take on assets, and they lend more assets. They loan more than the assets that they physically own. And that's the challenge, and that's why they do have to short it, and that's where all the conspiracy theories come from, of why they have to short the price of silver to make sure that silver is not collected out of their bank vaults. That's how the conspiracy theory goes. That's why silver is not going to go to $300 an ounce, is the argument. But so half of silver that is traded in the world is, some of it is less than half of it is investment, and most of it is industrial. And how does that break down? Well, investment, if we were to say that investment is mainly the paper investments, some of it is physical investments, physical silver, and some of it, a very small amount of it, is coin ownership, which is not a great amount, I don't believe. And and there is obviously quite a lot in silver jewelry and silver cutlery. Now, the industrialization of silver, that's where the interesting thing comes into it. A large percentage of it obviously was at some point photography, because it was used as, I don't know, silver nitrate, whatever, for the process of in the photographic paper development or the negatives. That obviously disappeared after digitalization of photography. It's the point about silver is its properties. It is the most reflective material, and it's the most electrically conductive, and it is the baseline of measurement of both those, of reflectivity and of conductivity. And that's where it's used for solar today, and it's used in electricity. Now, copper is obviously used in copper wiring for the transmitting of electricity, but it's at the switcher point where the spark could take place in this switch, where silver takes place. So if you take apart an electrical device, you'll find the silver at the switch, not in the silver, it's copper wiring, the rest of it. But the thing about technology in industry is that it evolves, and even if it can't get around the need for silver, it gets around the amount of silver it needs through innovation. So even in solar panels and in batteries and in cars and in anything that's conductive and needs silver or reflective, they're going to work out how to use less and less to do it. So the amount of silver need for the operation point will get more and more finite for the volume of the product, whether it's a hand phone or smartphone or electric car, solar panel, or what have you. So this argument that there's only so much silver being produced and there is and not enough being produced, there's going to be a pinch, that in itself really is just an argument done to hype the silver market again. So I think there's a lot that goes on here that really is a lot of hype, that those of us who are saving our money at smaller amounts, in the tens or hundreds or maybe $1,000 if we're lucky. Quite frankly, you got $1,000 to invest, you ought to be flipping into gold. And that's the important thing. So a lot of the narrative I've used today, I've taken to spoof the people who are hyping silver. And I think I'm doing it as a warning to beware, to buyer beware. And certainly this is not meant as financial advice. This is meant to show, as partly of what I'm doing. I'm experimenting with a sideline in content creation. And I think you should all be aware that the only way you look after your savings is to watch the pennies and the pounds and the dollars. It's a good idea to buy silver coins as a way of stopping you spending your money. It's sometimes worth looking at transitioning your local currency to another currency as a way of stopping you from spending. It's also a good idea to quit alcohol and cigarettes as a way of spending. And it's also a good idea just to hold your money a bit more and try and get it into something a bit more productive like gold. And I think I'm also saying is beware of YouTube, because most of the people who are giving you good ideas are really making the money on content creation. So look, have a good day. Be safe. Take care. Don't watch too much YouTube. Go out for a walk, get some fresh air, listen to the birds and the bees and smell the flowers and take a breeze and watch the trees. Okay, good day. Take it easy. Bye.